Welcome back to the 48th part in this Python series on the Django web framework, and in this one we're going to carry on working on the homepage itself. And now that we can store our post data from our post form into our database using our model form, now we want to sort of pull that back out again and present that data on the homepage so that we can see it every time the page loads, and instead of having to sort of not be able to see the data. So we're just going to pull that data out and allow our users to see that data that they've just entered, and whatever's in the database previously if they've entered stuff before that as well. Now what I want to do is do a database query, which is just saying go to the database and get this object or these particular objects out of the database so that we can pass them to our template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say posts is equal to post, and remember this is our model, so we're going to need to import it, .objects.all. So that's just going to get all the post objects that are currently in the database, and we need to import it so it's in home models. So if I do from home.models import post, so that's referring to models.py and then that model that we created to store our post data and our user data. Now one thing I also want to add to this is I want to add the date that it was posted, just so that we can filter by the date if we sort of choose to. So what I'm going to do is do a models.date field, a date time field actually, and I'm just going to say auto now is equal to true. So what that's going to do is it's just going to add the date when the object goes into the database, but not on subsequent saves. So it's the date that the object was created as opposed to the date that it was updated. So it's just the first date that it was initially saved into the database. So in our views, now that we've got that, we're going to need to run a migration because we changed the database. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll just say Django admin make migrations, and done that, Django admin migrate. Okay, so that was successful. So now we've done that, we should be able to use post.objects.all to get the objects out of the database again without any database issues, because we've ran that migration and updated our model and run that on the actual database itself. So now just to test this, I want to say let's just print the objects just to make sure it's working for the moment. So print posts, that's just going to print hopefully a list of the objects stored in that model. So I'm going to do Django admin run server again, and so this view is the home view, so I need to refresh that page, and now you can see we've got this list of objects as we sort of expected. Now what I'm going to do, instead of this print line, that's just to check that it was working, was I'm going to pass that now through to the templates. So I'm just going to pass the objects themselves, and then we can choose the particular bits of the information that we want from that object in the template itself, because we may want not only the content of the post itself but also the date or the user information that's linked with that object. And if we only passed, say, whatever that field was called, the post field, which we could do post.post, and it would just pass the particular field for each object that we're passing through. But in this case I'm going to pass the entire object so that we have all that data to refer to if we need it, and we probably will, so that's why I'm doing it like this. So I'm going to redefine this dictionary or sort of add to it here. So we've got a form, and I'll change this to args just so that it keeps this render line a bit shorter. So we'll pass through the form already, which I'll leave as it is, and I also want to add the posts. So I'm just going to call that the same. And so this is using self.template name, which is home.html. So I'll go to that template now, and we should be able to render the actual posts themselves. Let's say for our posts in the HTML, I'm just going to iterate through each of the objects. So for post in posts, and just so that we don't forget, I'm going to say end for, so that we remember to end it, because it's not like Python where it's using white space. It's just we have to state that explicitly in HTML. And so for each post in the posts, I'm just going to do heading 1, and I'm going to say the post.post. So that is the actual content of the post itself. And let's say for a paragraph, we're going to say post.date. Let's see how that looks. So coming back over to the home page, I'll refresh, and now we can see all the objects that we've previously entered into the database loaded with their date time field as we've added on the model, and the actual content of that post. So if we want to get fancy, we could even add, because we also have on that model, we have a foreign key to the user. What we can do is we can use, let's see where we want to add this. So I could say something like posted by, and then we could say the actual user's name on that date. So just to neaten this up slightly, in this case I'm going to say post, so that's the particular object that we're referring to, dot user, so that's the foreign key on that model that we're referring to, so that's now the entire user object, but the user also has attributes. And because it's the Django model that we're using to define our users in the first place, we can use their methods as well. So we could say, for example, an attribute like first name or last name, or both, if we wanted to say both of them, but Django actually provides a method for us to do that. So all I need to say in the template is .get full name. And that should give us the full name of that particular user. So let's see how that looks. I'll refresh the page again. And now we have posted by Max Goodridge on the date that it was posted. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm just going to delete that full stop at the end there, because that was actually added by the date field itself, date time field itself. So I'm going to leave it there. I think that's pretty much all we need to do to be able to pull the data out of the database, make it look at least half presentable, and now we can continue on with the rest of the application.